Everybody, it's Luke with New Age Thought, and today's video is going to be about the failed Trump assassination and some of the details about it, and kind of where this event leaves us as a nation. I was going to make this video a little bit closer to when it actually happened, but I felt that it was necessary for some time to go by and some of the smoke to clear, some more details to come out, because as you guys know, anytime there's a major event like this or shooting, it's, the first 24 hours, first 48 hours even, there's so much information coming through. It's hard to really discern what is real, what isn't. I think I even saw some articles on the internet that weren't even talking about gunshots, just said Trump was escorted off stage in Pennsylvania due to loud noises and things like that. And I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just, I saw a couple articles using that sort of language. But anyway, let's get right into it. All right, so first off, I want to just thank God for the fact that Trump is okay and he did not get killed. I mean, we all know, we've probably all watched a bunch of videos on it by now. If Trump's head was just a little bit facing toward the audience instead of turning to look at a diagram, that 5.56 round would have definitely caught the backside of his skull. It would have probably entered right here and went out the back of your brain, which is pretty much unsurvivable, especially with a round like that going that fast. So there is a part of me that definitely feels like, look, you could chalk it up to luck, you could chalk it up to just whatever. I personally believe that there was some sort of divine intervention. I think, I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you certainly what happened, but it seems so marginal that I think you have to ask yourself questions like, were there larger spiritual forces at play? Were there, who knows? Maybe some of you guys don't even believe in God, or if you do, you don't think that God can act in that way and actually, have somebody turn or change the outcome of something like that. But I think that's exactly how God works. It's in subtle ways that you're not going to see some, rarely would you see like some sort of light or some crazy, thing that is like, oh my gosh, it's undeniably like this is heavenly or something. But I think that is how God works, is in little moments where things could have just gone this way, but they go this way, and we kind of carry on. I also want to take a moment just to thank God that President Biden is okay too. I don't think this is just simply like some like leftist plot to take out Trump. I think both presidential candidates in the United States are at really high risk of assassination, unfortunately. I talked about this in my last video when I was talking about the changing world order, and I discussed how I think it's pretty likely that they might try to assassinate Trump, and sure enough, look where we are. And when I say they, again, I want to be very specific. I am not talking about Joe Biden or the Biden administration specifically. I think there are elements within that administration that are not that are accountable to a different source. And you might say, well Luke, like, what source is that? I can't exactly tell you. These people, this globalist sort of group, which I believe is really behind it. Actually, you know what? I can't be sure. That's the reality. Is I have a hunch of who would be behind this, and you just have to ask yourself a rational question: who would want Trump out of the way? What if Trump is gone and there's chaos in America? That's good for who? Right? And so I'll let you guys kind of just work on that yourself. But let's just talk about the shooter himself, Thomas Matthew Crooks. you know, when I first started seeing news about this, I was a little bit hesitant to even believe that was really the shooter. It looks like now that that really was the guy on the roof. It just seems so, I mean, if you were to try to come up with like some false flag event where you get some, you know, ragtag looking guy, you know, similar to the Kennedy assassination, it's a lone shooter, he acted alone, you know, he's crazy, or, you know, in this case, he's a Republican, and who knows what they're going to say about him. Maybe he was radicalized or whatever, who knows. But, you know, I mean, even his name, Thomas Matthew Crooks, like, it sounds, I mean, it's almost like you couldn't even make it up. Like, his name even sounds like somewhat villainous in a way. But I don't know that much about him. I think we're all still kind of waiting to hear the motive. Like, we know he's the shooter. We know he got up on the roof, you know, according to eyewitness testimony. But do we know what his motive was? And I think that's really key. I mean, a lot of times shooters will leave like a manifesto, or they'll say like, hey, I'm going to do this because X, Y, Z happened, or this is what I believe. And it's just like, so far, nothing like that has come out. And honestly, guys, I'm at a point where it's really hard for me to like fully believe anything. I'm looking with my eyes at what seems to be observable facts, but I hate to say it, and I don't mean to make it to come off as. I guess what I'm trying to say is we need to be really cautious. Any information regarding this man, Thomas Matthew Crooks, or the attempted assassination, I think is going to be really. It could be altered. We could be lied to about it. They could, when I say they, this group that I can't even name their names. Let's just say people who want instability in America with lots of money and power. And let's just say that they have elements also within the media, mainstream media, that could, you know, oh look, we found a manifesto, and yep, it was just him. There was no larger plot involved. It was just this guy, and that's it. Just a crazy guy, you know. And I think that's a very convenient way to just kind of, if you were trying to assassinate somebody, if you could sort of mind control or convince somebody into doing something, and truly believe that they're doing it for their own cause, which we've done this before, as the U.S. government has done this. That's a very, you know, if you want somebody assassinated, but you don't want to have anything lead to yourself, it's a great way to do it. You know, have somebody else do it for you, and you remain hidden in the shadows. Nobody even knows what's going on. Anyway, so let's just talk about like a couple little things. I'm sure a lot of you guys have watched videos on the shooting, and you know, you see the location of where the shooter was to Trump. I'm not going to go into crazy detail about it. Obviously, like, it is so close, and I mean, it's just like, it is the first freaking building that you would, I mean, I'm not even a trained counter sniper or anything. I mean, I know how to, you know, firearms roughly, but I mean, like, if you just asked me, you know, Luke Schneider, hey, you know, if you had to defend the president, when you're looking out, you know, what would you think is a threat? I'd be like, well, there's a building right there. There's a couple buildings over here. Pretty much any elevated spot, I would be like, we need to have guys on the roof, or, you know, making sure if there is a ladder to get to the roof, we need to have somebody guarding that ladder. I mean, just the fact that somebody was able to climb up on a roof at all, rifle or not, is ridiculous within that distance. Now, if it was a little further out, maybe I could understand, but that close, that, you know, it just blows my mind. So I really believe that there was something going on internally. Either certain members of the local police were compromised, or told not to come to work that day and somebody else came, or something was going on. I can't, again, I don't have the answers, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you like I know everything that's going on, because I don't think anybody truly does. But it just, the level of ineptitude is so high, it does start to raise questions of malintent, right? So I think, you know, you want to rule out just, you know, pure stupidity, but before you start going to malice as a cause for why this happened. But it really is. I mean, I've watched a video that Tim Kennedy did, and he, multiple military experts have basically said, like, this is so insane that somebody was able to get to this position, and and take these shots. Basically, I mean, you had civilians. There's a guy that they interviewed who was saying, yeah, there's a guy with a rifle, and there he is climbing the building, and who knows exactly what happened, but obviously there was something wasn't right to allow this individual to get to that location in such a prime shot. I mean, with the type of rifle he was using, like, that's almost like walking 5 feet away with it's basically like walking up to somebody with a pistol and taking a shot. I mean, it's basically almost impossible to miss. So maybe Trump turned his head, and then pretty quick after that, I think Secret Service did engage, so I guess he didn't really have time for follow-up shots, thank God. And the ones that he did, unfortunately, hit somebody in the crowd. So I've said a prayer for that family, and 2 other people are recovering from their injuries, so I wish them a speedy recovery. Let's get a little bit more into the Secret Service detail that was defending Trump that day. A lot of people are talking about whether women should be defending the president. I think that yes, you do want women Secret Service agents, specifically for the reason that if you just see a bunch of big guys walking around, I mean, you're going to know that something's up, right? And women can blend in a way that men can't. That being said, there are different situations and different jobs within securing the president, which I think women Secret Service agents should probably be put in, maybe crowd security. But if you need to be the individual who's actually going to be picking the president up or getting in front of the president to shield him, and let's not even get into gender, really. It's really more just simple capability. Like, you're either capable of doing the job or you're not. You're either able to move your protected target, your principal as they call it, or you're not. And I mean, even some of the men there, I don't even think were like really, I don't know. They should have had at least like one 400-pound, 370-pound guy who just, could just pick Trump up, just spot himself, or, completely shield the president. It did seem like for a Secret Service team, I mean, these are supposed to be the best of the best, and it did seem like, sure, there was a lot of confusion after the shooting, but it did seem like there was a lot actually of uncoordination, or that, like, after the shots were fired, there was a lot of uncoordination in terms of where are we going, how are we even protecting the president at this point? Could there be another shooter? I mean, that was what was going through my head. You could hear the Secret Service guys and women on the mic going like, "Hey, shooters down, let's move." But how do they know that there's not more shooters? I don't know. It just, I guess, hey, I'm not a Secret Service agent, so I'm not gonna go and try to move too far out of my get into a different zone of expertise that I don't have. I'm just talking as a civilian, what I've observed, and it did seem a little bit strange to me that these are supposed to be highly trained, officers that train for this. I mean, this is what they train for. It's not like, oh my gosh, we're so shocked. It's like, I think that's your excuse me, but that's your effing job, right? Is like, protect the president from getting shot and or harmed. And here's a situation where it happened. You should not be freaking out. You should be alert, and you're probably going to have a slight rush of adrenaline, but I mean, you should have enough training that you don't look freaked. You're able to holster your pistol calmly. And it's just like 1, 2, 3. Let's execute the procedure. We've run this drill a million times. Let's get the president out of this dangerous situation. So, one thing I did want to note is that the head of the Secret Service, I think her name is Kimberly Cheadle, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. She was put in place in 2022 by the Biden administration. Now, that doesn't mean that she's evil or bad, but I do think that when we look at, a lot of the quotas and the new things that have been happening since Biden came into office in terms of diversity hiring, and, the Secret Service itself said that they wanted to have a percentage, of their staff be either female or whatever, you know what I mean? And really, I just think for something like that, we should be hiring purely upon, I don't care what your gender is, I don't care what your race is, I don't care who you have sex with. I just think you need to be the best person for that job, whether that's a man or a woman, and we just got to let everything kind of sort itself out. If that means everybody ends up being 6'5", jacked guy ready to freaking lay down the hammer, then fine. You know what I'm saying? If that means that, yeah, there are more women, then great. But we should not be hiring based on quotas, especially for something like this, for the Secret Service. So that does, I do think to myself, okay, Trump is clearly, ever since he was, he's been the president. Obviously there's a target on his back. And it just, to me, it didn't smell right. It didn't smell right. It seemed like there was some Secret Service officers on the job that day that, I'm not going to go say anything else. It just, something didn't seem right. It didn't seem like, how they should be behaving, or it seemed like there was a lack of training or something. Now there was guys that came out, guns at the high ready, looking right into the audience. You see, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Your job as a Secret Service agent is basically to die, to protect your target. If that includes you taking a bullet, you signed up for that. I think clearly Trump needs a way higher security than he currently has. There's lots of people out there who are definitely going to offer their services, I know, either for free, or we just need to work on getting him higher security. I'm also a little bit worried about Biden. I don't think I think both of our presidential candidates are at risk of something bad happening, assassination or whatever, because it's clear Biden can't be president. Let's just be honest, guys. He can't talk. He fell apart in the debate. If you don't like Trump, that's fine, but Biden is just not the answer. And so, but nobody seems to be replacing him. It seems like the Democratic Party is saying, no, this is our guy, which is a little concerning, because I think there's so many better options out there. It's why, what is it about Biden that people want to kind of try to keep him in, just so somebody else can run it behind the scenes and kind of have another 4 years of what we've just been having, which, if in case you guys have been looking around, I don't know, the country's not in the best place. So I'm sure there's going to be an investigation to the shooting. It's probably going to be conducted by the FBI. And my question is just to make sure that, this is the same FBI that raided Mar-a-Lago. And I am not saying that the FBI as a whole organization is necessarily corrupt, but it does seem like it has been used in recent days to basically be a hammer of the opposing, okay. My interpretation of things is that the FBI has been utilized by the Biden administration and elements of whoever's in power right now. If that's even Biden, I don't even think it's somebody else. I don't really know who's calling the shots, but when they raided Mar-a-Lago and took documents or whatever, it was all basically to try to, they were claiming Trump had some secret documents, then these court cases come out against him, and he's found guilty, but nobody gives a fuck. It's just like they're it just seems like there's so many attempts to try to stop Trump, and I don't see that happening to Biden. I don't see like anybody like impeding him. I mean, it's in any way playing political games. I mean, yes, there's a case against his son and stuff like that. So there are some things, but ultimately, like when you compare it to what Trump has been dealing with as a ex-president and somebody who is a presidential candidate, you would go like, wow, this is pretty crazy. Now, if we're going on a spectrum of like, how do we stop somebody? Okay, well, we can, defame him on the news, try to get everybody to hate him, claim that he's a Russian operative. That was, bust. It's just been going on for years and years and years. Everything they throw at Trump, people don't believe it. They see through the bullshit. And eventually you get to the point where it's like, yeah, you start considering killing him or, assassinating him or basically making him unable to be president by other means. And I think if we follow this road down the continuum, I still think he's at high risk. And I think the next thing that we can expect, unfortunately, is, like I said, this is just the beginning. There's going to be more civil unrest to come in the country. They might start, there could be basically real bombs that go off and hurt real people, but are then blamed on certain groups or Trump, or who knows, maybe something happens with, Biden, or I don't know. But I think what's going to happen is basically, yeah, we're going to see, unfortunately, more violence. I pray to God that it doesn't happen every day, but I think that's the world that we're living in right now. Is this election is so critical that there are forces that are willing to commit domestic violence against American citizens, and then basically use the media and other forms of information to create a perception around that event, which would make it really hard for a certain presidential candidate to be elected. Not to mention, we have to worry about Russia and China. They're watching this and basically waiting, I think, for the most vulnerable moment, in order for China to launch an attack on Taiwan, or who knows what's going on, guys. But it's really not looking good. It's looking like we're getting closer and closer to war. And I am trying to think to myself how to stop it, but it just seems like they're, my way of stopping it is just making this video and like trying to talk about these issues, because I don't really know what else, I don't think joining the military necessarily, we do need a strong military, but I don't think, if you just join the military and then you get sent off to fight in a conflict that was started by some globalist group and is really just about creating global instability, you're not fighting really to defend America. It's like you could be giving your life for some like weird war scheme or plot or something. I don't know, but we still need a strong military. I just say, like really think to yourself why you're joining up. If you do plan on joining like now, make sure you're joining for the right reasons, and make sure talk to veterans, talk to people who have already served, and get their advice. I think that's a really good way to go. Don't just join up and they could inject you with a bazillion things and send you to Taiwan, and next thing you know, you're dying, and it's like you don't even know like why really. You want to make sure if you're gonna sacrifice your life for America that you're really doing it for the right reasons, and you're not getting tricked somewhere along the line. Again, I'm not claiming that Biden is responsible for this, or just the left in general. I don't think that's a correct analysis of what's happening. I think it's groups that we don't really even know the full name of. BlackRock, big investors that basically own elements of not only the Democratic Party, but also the Republican Party. But just right now, they're putting more money, I think, into the Democratic Party because it is the oppositional party to Trump. So I think that's what's going on. And we don't even like, right? Like this. So this is what I'll end on, right? I want to keep this video around 25 minutes. We need to identify our enemy. We are in a war. It's not, oh, is war coming? We're already in a war. We're not in a physical war, kinetic war with, like tanks and airplanes just yet. But there is a shadowy Cold War that's developing right here on American soil. Assassinations, legal cases, whatnot. And we need to identify who the true enemy is. And if you ask me, that would be basically a globalist group. I think some names that come to mind are, you know what, I'm not going to name any names in this video because it's really dangerous to just start doing that without the proper knowledge. But basically just I would say, think to yourself, who wants a weakened America? Who doesn't want Trump in office? And we're not talking about people who just don't like Trump because of his politics. It's way bigger than that. It's Trump would stop, a World War III situation. He doesn't want more conflict in the world. And there are people who are trying to bring the world into deeper conflict. They could give a crap about abortion or gay rights or equal pay. Like, they don't care about those issues. They want basically just they want to corrupt America morally and ethically with these weird freaking policies that I don't know. Again, when it comes to they want to erode the moral and ethical fabric of America, weaken us, and bring the world closer to a conflict. And your enemy is not somebody who just doesn't like Trump or doesn't like Biden. We're Americans first, and we need to come together as Americans truly right now. Otherwise, we're gonna lose. If we can't see through some of these games that are being played, I'm not saying Trump is the greatest savior of all time. Obviously, he can be bombastic at times. He's nobody's perfect, right? I'm not saying Trump is the answer to everything, but it seems like right now, when you take a look at the field of play, it does seem like Trump is the answer, at least if you are talking about American presidents. If somebody would like to offer a different, option, I can only think of RFK, but it's not going to be Vivek Ramaswamy or any of these guys. Trump is going to be the candidate, and it's either Trump or bust. So we got to pray, we got to stick together, and we got to realize that we're not through the woods yet, that it's a blessing that Trump is okay, but I would not be surprised if something else, another attempt on his life is made, or even an attempt on Biden's life is made. So I'd like to pray for both Biden and Trump in this video. I hope they're both safe. And I also want to pray for America. I think we really need some spiritual help right now. It's we're not gonna solve the problems that we're facing just by voting for the right guy, or saying these are the things I stand for, these are the things you stand for, and arguing about it. It's we need the help of, if you really boil down what's going on, past politics, this really gets into a battle between good and evil. And anybody who is willing to kill somebody to stop them from being president, in my opinion, that's an evil act. Murder in and of itself is evil, but especially with those sort of motives. So I would pray to whatever your God is, whatever your form of spirituality is. Ask for divine intervention, because I think that's really what we're fighting. We're fighting not men and kings and politics, as it says in the Bible. We're fighting a spiritual war that isn't of flesh and blood. It's something else, and it manifests through flesh and blood and physical things, but really it is something much larger. So I just would like to I'm going to say a quick prayer. Dear Lord, please help guide our country through this tumultuous time. No matter where you stand, on the left or the right, we're all Americans, we all have families, and ultimately we want to live happy, fulfilled lives. and we don't want the world to be plunged into more chaos and more evil. So please watch over President Trump. Please watch over President Biden. Watch over the families that were affected by this tragedy, and help guide us through this tough time. Amen.